radio station.
Simply the best.
There's a certain kind of betrayal that doesn't destroy you all at once. It happens quietly, piece by piece. Until one night, you suddenly realize the person sleeping beside you has been burying your life in darkness the entire time. Welcome back to Hidden Truths. I didn't think I could do this tonight. I really didn't. But I am finally ready to look back at how easily, how brutally, my entire life was dismantled in the dark.
This is the best radio.
2 years ago, the successful business I spent a decade building, pouring my blood into, was brought to its knees by my own blind trust. It was a Tuesday night, exactly midnight, inside my quiet family bakery. I was downstairs working, while my partner, a man named Taunus, claimed to be checking supplier costs upstairs. But a personal laptop he left open on a table changed everything. A digital notification flashed on the screen from an unknown offshore bank account. The balance listed was $200,000. Money that had vanished from my business operational fund over 3 long years. The screen laid bare a truth I had hidden from myself for too long. The deception was finally uncovered. The offshore account belonged to a shell company registered in the Cayman Islands. The sole authorized user listed on those documents was Thomas. When I dug deeper into his digital files, a shocking pattern of corporate theft was laid bare. He hadn't just been skimming cash from my daily registers. He had secretly taken out a massive second mortgage on my bakery building itself. Every single signature line for my name had been systematically forged. The liquidation sale of my property was legally scheduled for the very next morning. Thomas had already booked a one-way flight to Bangkok, departing at 6:00 a.m. He was planning to leave me completely bankrupt and homeless in less than 6 hours. The shock of that discovery was so overwhelming that I completely lost track of time. I didn't notice the kitchen temperature rising around me. I didn't notice the sweet smell of fresh baking turning into a thick, acrid cloud. My massive batch of dough had been left unattended in the deep fryer. Thick, choking black smoke rapidly rolled across the ceiling as the oil began to burn. What was meant to be a perfect product was completely incinerated into charred, dead husks. Sitting there in the suffocating heat, my mind started tracking backward. 10 years. 10 long years of waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning, freezing to open that bakery. I remembered the burns on my forearms, the nights my back ached so badly I couldn't sleep. And all that time, while I was sweating over the ovens, Thomas was sitting in a clean, air-conditioned office upstairs, rewriting my life. Every holiday we skipped, every dinner we canceled, he told me it was because the business was tight. He looked me dead in the eye week after week and told me we were struggling. We were building our future, he said. It wasn't a struggle. It was a setup. The person I shared my meals with, the person who held my hand when my mother died, was treating my life like an asset to be liquidated. The sheer weight of the humiliation started to turn into something else, It wasn't just sadness anymore. It was a cold, dark, absolute clarity.
Simply the best.
Simply the best.
Then the digital trail got even worse. I clicked into his personal cloud storage, my hand shaking so violently I kept dropping the mouse. There were pictures, dozens of them. Pictures of a beautiful, sunlit apartment overlooking the ocean in Majorca, a property purchased using our company's line of credit. And in the reflections of the glass, there were photos of him, laughing, holding a wine glass with someone else. A completely separate woman, a completely separate life. He had built a paradise across the ocean, brick by brick, using the money from the very flour on my fingers. I was the engine running in the basement, keeping the power on, while he was preparing to step onto a plane and erase my existence. My chest felt so tight, I literally couldn't breathe. I felt like a ghost, watching my own murder happen in real time. And right then, the first snap of a spark popped from the stovetop. The oil was past its boiling point. The air in the room was changing, but I couldn't move. I wanted it to burn. The physical world started slipping away. The first wave of black smoke didn't rise. It crept along the floor, wrapping around my ankles like winter frost. I watched a single drop of my sweat fall onto the hot steel of the prep table and sizzle away into nothing. Just like my youth. Just like my trust. The radio in the background was playing a soft, low melody, completely oblivious to the destruction. I thought about what tomorrow morning would look like. The bank trucks arriving, the locks being changed, the confusion, the absolute ruin. And Thomas, sitting in a first-class seat, sipping champagne, crossing the ocean. No. Not this time. The oil in the fryer didn't just smell burnt anymore. It smelled dangerous. The iron skillet on the back burner began to glow a deep, angry orange. The walls were turning black. My lungs were burning with every single inhale. But I just sat there, in the blinding dark, waiting for his footsteps. Waiting for the exact moment his paradise turned into ash. The bakery's smoke alarm began a high-pitched, piercing wail through the empty shop. I didn't move an inch to turn it off. I just watched the black, burning shapes sit there bubbling in the ruined oil. Heavy, panicked footsteps suddenly pounded down the wooden stairs. Thomas burst through the kitchen door, coughing violently from the fumes. He screamed at me, demanding to know why I was burning the building down. But the response I gave him wasn't an apology. I just turned his laptop screen directly toward his face. The loud alarm kept shrieking above us, filling the empty room with tension. Thomas froze instantly. The wet towel he was holding slipped right out of his hand and into the soot on the floor. The sudden panic in his eyes wasn't a fear of the smoke. It was the raw terror of a thief realizing the lights had just been turned on. He opened his mouth to spin another elaborate lie, but the thick smoke suffocated the words right in his throat.
This is the best
To this day,
station.
the surrounding town believes a very simple story. They think Thomas ran away into the night with the stolen cash. The authorities still routinely check his flight records, wondering why he never actually boarded that plane to Bangkok. They wonder how someone could vanish so completely without leaving a single trace behind. But some lessons are deeply educational. Greed destroys the person who holds it long before it destroys the victim. When building something from the ground up, you must be entirely careful about what ingredients you allow into your life. Some secrets are deeply buried away in the earth, where no one will ever look. And other secrets are baked directly into the crust of daily life. Thank you for tuning in and listening to my story tonight. Stay vigilant.